Give it a minute or two and we'll start.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
I was doing well, Insha'Allah.
Sure, want to share the screen or?
Just give me one, please.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You can share the screen, Insha'Allah, please. All right, and we reached chapter 2, right? Type. So, we are talking about, of course, none other than the alamat yawm al-qiyam, alamat as-sa'ah. And we have gone through the hadith that talks about hadith Gabriel, that talks about when Jibreel alayhi salam visited the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, very famous hadith, and about the signs of the Day of Judgment. And just to recap from last time, okay, we know that he was asked some questions. He was asked about Islam, about Iman, and about Ihsan, right? And he was asked, and from here we know, like, it's part of the 5 pillars, the 6 pillars of Iman. We know what Ihsan means. Okay, we all have, Insha'Allah, because we are believers, in the rules of Allah we submit. We have Islam, we're Muslims. Do we have Iman? This is something that is, are we mu'min? This is something that is, not easy also to achieve. Islam is, we submit. We all know, okay, Islam is the truth. There's rules, and we are Muslims. We submit. We try our best to pray 5 times a day, to do our best. This is Islam. Iman, like to really, that faith has entered our hearts. This is something that, Inshallah khair. Hopefully we have it. Ihsan, this is something difficult. To worship Allah as you see Him, but you know that He sees you. Now this is difficult. Okay, to always be aware and know, okay, Allah is watching me, no matter what I do. This is something that, again, if we are honest with ourselves, we'll find that it's very difficult. Imagine there's that muraqabah, right? That protection. It's something very difficult. Allah protect, right? So we wish we could reach it. The Prophet said it, of course. Some people from Salihin, or who are called Ibadullah al-Mukhlasin, the chosen servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those sincere ones that Allah has chosen them, those have that internalization. It's like, I worship Allah as I see Him, but I know I cannot see Him, but I know that He sees me. Meaning I'm not going to do anything wrong when I'm in private, where most of the sins are committed. May Allah forgive us. The thoughts and the mindset and the behaviors that we have in private are different than those in public. That doesn't make a person a munafiq. A lot of people, when they think that, okay, let's say, for example, that a person they know somehow, through some knowledge, they know, for example, that this person Yeah, and he has certain characteristics. Sometimes your family knows better than the public because they see you more in private. And then that person goes outside. It's a very important point here. Very, very important. And then that person goes outside and behaves nicely with the people. Okay, very nice. Or he goes for salah every time, for prayer, fajr. He submits to Allah. He's a Muslim. Goes to the masjid, prays his fajr, his salah is on point. He gives charity, he's nice to people outside. But his family says, man, this guy's a hypocrite. In the home, he loses his temper. We know we caught him doing this, we caught him doing that. Sometimes he smokes in the bathroom. Okay, he's looking at inappropriate things sometimes. And what's a hypocrite? What a hypocrisy. What a hypocrite he is. In public, he behaves in a certain way, in private, another way. This is not hypocrisy. This is not hypocrisy. Okay, we have adopted the definition of hypocrisy from the Western philosophy, where if there's a contradiction in your behavior, that means you're a hypocrite. That is not what a hypocrite is. In Islam, a munafiq is someone who uses the deen, okay, to gain a benefit, but they do not actually believe. Okay, they hide their faith and they use the faith. There's the element of contradiction, of course, but it is the difference between kufr and iman, and using apparent Islam and iman to propel kufri behaviors or ideologies or inspirations or aspirations. Okay, so that's the difference. A Muslim who maybe in his private is not so good. Maybe he smokes, maybe he looks at bad things, maybe someone catches him from his family and they see, mashallah, in public he's like the best, so nice. Yet in private, his sins take over. Okay, he's a sinner, but he's a Muslim. He's not a kafir, he's not a munafiq. The munafiq is a kafir. So every munafiq is a kafir. Not every kafir is a munafiq. Okay, but every munafiq is a kafir. All right? But definitely, a person, a sinner who sins in private is a Muslim. You understand? So there's no connection whatsoever to hypocrisy, to nifaq, okay, in that sense at all. When a person yani, sins in private. Okay, so that's why ihsan. So this a Muslim, can a Muslim sin in private? Yes, he will. He will sin in private. He might do bad things. He might miss his, morning, fajr, he won't wake up. But when he's outside in the public, he will be like, mashallah, people will be like, man, this guy's so nice. But then his wife says, yeah, but you don't know how he's at home. He's a monster at home. Okay? Right? And that's possibility. Is he still a Muslim? Yes, he's a Muslim. Why is he being nice to the people yet inside in private he's not so? Well, he's a Muslim and he's a human being, and isn't that the case for most of us that when we're in private we're very different than we're in public? And it's a problem. It's not good, but it doesn't make us munafiqeen. Okay? Allah questions us, Ya ladina amanu, lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Why do you say what you don't do? Maybe we would say things, but we don't do it. We'll contradict ourselves. 100%. Everyone, I don't know. Come on, everyone have that they'll do this. Every human being has this behavior inside. In private, they'll slip, they'll commit sins, their desires will overtake them, they'll lie, they'll this, they'll that. But when we're outside in people's eyes, out of shame, out of just any adab, just having good behavior, there's nothing wrong with being kind and nice to people, even though we're sinners inside. Actually, husnul khuluq, the good behavior, this is something that will erase our sins and lift our daraj, our level on the day of judgment. As the Prophet ﷺ said that he promises, أَنَا زَعِيمٌ بِبَيْتٍ فِي أَعْلَى الْجَنَّةِ. لمن حسن خلقه. I promise a palace or a house in the highest levels of Jannah for the person who perfects their character. Okay, deals with people good, behave. Why? And again, I think this is very, very fundamental to make the difference between a Western understanding of hypocrisy and sin and the Islamic view on this. And they're very different because adab is a science, is an art that you have to perfect throughout your life. Even though you're rottening inside and you're a sinner, but on the outside, you still have to deal with people kindly and nicely, even with your enemies sometimes. Okay, yes, there's limits. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to slap them, yet sometimes you're going to have to pet them or extend a hand of help or kindness, say a kind word. And this is Islam. Prophet ﷺ was with Aisha radiallahu anha one time. And there were some people who were not good, actually. So the Prophet ﷺ spoke kind of bad about them in front of Aisha. Then those people came to the Prophet ﷺ and spoke to him, and he was so kind to them. So Aisha, naturally, she was quite inquisitive, and sometimes she would, object to things and ask. Therefore, she asked, Ya Rasulullah, yani, when you were with me, you said bad things about these as bad of man of a son of a tribe and this and that. Yani, almost an insult. So, but then when he came, you were like, mashallah, you spoke to him like he was the nicest person. He says, Ya Aisha, it might be that our hearts curse people sometimes, but we still have to behave kindly to them. Right? You see, there's no hypocrisy, there's no contradiction. The Prophet ﷺ is teaching us here a very, very deep lesson. And that is sometimes on the inside might not be feeling so well, but on the outside you still have a responsibility to do well. You still have to treat people kindly. You still have to, even though you might hate them, man. And how many of us have issues with people? We don't like their behavior. Still, Islamically, they have the right to be treated kindly, and you have the duty, the wajib, to treat them nice and to speak nice to them. And if a person perfects their behavior with people, subhanAllah, it's contagious. It's so nice when you see someone behaving nicely, has good manners, good character, good adab. It's not easy because, your nafs will sometimes incline and want you to be rude to people and cause problems and fight. Life is all about conflict, man. Everything is conflict. It's the art of war. Everything is about conflict in life. You have conflict from the moment you're born, with shaitan. He pinches you, so you cry, he bothers you. Then you have conflict as a child, struggling, fighting yourself, to eat and to cry and right? And then you grow up and then you have what's called sandbox conflict, with your little kids around, like, kindergarten type of conflict. And then you have school conflict and your siblings, and then throughout life, your marriage and your boss and your work. And it's always conflict, man. It's always conflict against yourself, against shaitan, against people around you. Whole life is conflict. Okay, human beings have been created in kabad, and toil, and always moving, doing things, conflict. And this is life. This is life. Right? So but we have to perfect the manners. Try your best. Try your best when dealing with people to be as kind as possible. Okay? Not to be a doormat. There's limits, but try your best to always, always have good manners with people, even though maybe inside you're rotten, you're not good, you have evil behavior, you have shahawat and desires, you have haram that you're doing in private. when the haram reaches public levels, as we see now, for example, in some of the Muslim countries, Saudi, for example, perfect example. It's funny that people get upset. Come on, man, they are rubbing it into your face. They are rubbing it into your face. Before, first time I went to Saudi, I was 2000 and I think it was 2005 or six, about 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. And I remember it was like, you can tell already. I was a new Muslim. I was like, how many years into Islam? Maybe 2 years into Islam. Yeah, about 2.5 years into Islam. And we were sponsored by the masjid, one of the sheikhs there, me and a friend of mine, to go and apply to Medina University and to do Umrah and all that. So we went, alhamdulillah. And I remember just seeing there's certain things that were just unsettling. I could tell that the society was boiling. There's already a lot happening inside. But people still had shame and they were not manifesting their behavior outwardly. Inside, I can tell you already problems were there. You could tell satellite dishes all over. You can tell by people's demeanor that there was a contradiction. Something on the inside was boiling, but on the outside they were, somehow trying to maintain it. But their behavior on the outside was also not good. It was very rude. For those who have ever been there, they know what I'm talking about in many cases. Now, and they're still, of course, good people. 100%. We met them and we sat with them. It was beautiful. The behavior was so nice. I remember one of the guys, he would just be with us all the time, just a local. Such amazing behavior. Amazing, like very inspiring. But other people in general, they were rude. And I remember being in the hotel, excited to go for the Fajr. And, we're excited to do da'wah and this and that at the beginning, mashallah. I remember the guards at the front, it's just like right outside the haram. They were sleeping at Fajr time. We were trying to wake him up. We're like, hey, come. He almost wanted to beat us up to fight with us. See, he didn't want to pray. He's like, leave me alone. What prayer? What prayer? What salah? SubhanAllah, right? That's hit me like a ton of bricks. These people, they live in the haram, but they don't care about the haram. They don't care about prayer. They don't care about Mecca. They don't care about anything, right? But again, overall, it was covered. Fast forward till today, look what they're doing. Look at their concerts. Look at the way the gayness, how they dance, the man, how gay they are, how they behave openly now. Open fahisha, open evil, sin, and misbehavior, and lack of adab. Right? So now the inside and the outside, not I want no one saying match, but they're horrible. Because when you don't at least are ashamed of people, shame can be on different levels. Shame of Allah, I think that disappeared for most of us, maybe. Here and there, maybe some reminiscences. But then, shame of people in society, family, people, that's still part of Iman. The Prophet said, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاسْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. If you are not ashamed, then do as you please. Right? So you will do what you want. So now, inside, outside, boom, evil. Right? There's no Iman there. Okay, there's what Iman? This is not Iman anymore. There's no Islam. What Islam? People are not praying, not submitting. Okay? It's culture that you have a name, a Muslim name, and that's it. But in behavior, and this is why Saudi Arabia is a case study to see how they were corrupted, how the West corrupted, and they succumbed. Colonization in the end will win. Why? Same thing with Malaysia, same thing with all the countries that have been colonized. All of them they have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay? Why? Because you see, the ideologies that these people use to colonize our countries, our minds, not just the lands, but our intellect, our minds. Um, and I'm not sure, Yani, your position on. Um, I'm not, I don't, again, sometimes judge people. I like to take what's good. So I benefited from some of the work of, the Yemeni, Malaysian, I think his name is Said Attas, right? He is that founder of Istaq in Malaysia, right? His understanding of the worldview of Islam, and Islamic culture, and civilization, colonization. He's written quite some really impressive things on that. I advise you to take the good and look into it. Okay, I think he's still alive in Malaysia. I took a course with him maybe 5 years ago. Uh, but it's that concept of colonization of the mind and of the culture. Okay, and in the manifestation, we even seeing pertaining to our subject, the alamat yawm al-qiyamah, in this behavior. What we said in the previous hadith, we mentioned that the slave woman will give birth to her master. Look at the way the behavior of children today in these countries themselves, in the land of the two mosques, how they behave with their parents, how evil they are, right? They treat them like slaves. The slave will give birth to her master, right? That's one of the signs when Jibreel Islam asked, what's the sign? Okay. One of the signs was that. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's the level of, in the Hadith, Iman, or Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. But I wanted to clarify this issue of the contradiction versus hypocrisy to understand, okay, what's the difference? That a believer, even though they might be sinning in private and having a rotten, maybe heart inside, but they can still behave outside politely and not spread fahisha outside in public. Because once the society is open like that, like what Saudi is doing now, trust me, they will have an accelerated decay. They think they are modern and they're modernizing, but they're accelerating, destroying their selves. And now they're not having good behavior outside, they're misbehaving. And now it's a very slippery slope. And they're losing themselves. May Allah only protect. Yeah, so that's, Iman, Ihsan, Islam, the three levels that Prophet ﷺ answered about. And then he was asked about the signs of the Day of Judgment. And we know that one of the signs is, again, that the slave woman will give birth to her master. Right? Children treating their parents very bad. Very, very bad. Allah protect and forgive. Yeah. Now, طيب. Description of the fitna. Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, Hudayfa, great Sahabi. They say that people used to ask the Prophet ﷺ about good things. Ya Rasulullah, what is the best deed? What is the best deed? Okay. Salatu ala waqtiha, prayer in its time. Ya Rasulullah, what is this? What is that? They used to ask. But he said, I used to ask him about bad things because I was afraid they might overtake. Very important point here, guys. As good as we are and as much taqwa that we have, in the end, every human being can fall into the fitna. It's the possibility of it is in us. Okay, it is in us. That's just the way it is. So that internal goodness of ihsan is in few people. So Hudayfa saying, I'm afraid that I might fall into it. In the fitna, meaning What? You don't have the control? Oh yeah, we don't have the control. We should be afraid. Some people say, no, bro, I'm never gonna go into that. I know myself, have strong faith. No, that's the foolish thing to say. That you think that you're gonna resist the fitna. Okay, no one can resist the fitna except few selected servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fitna can be, anyone can fall into it. Adam alayhi salam, the first man that was created, and he was a prophet, he fell into the fitna. Did he not? Right? فَلَا تَقْرَبُوا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Don't come close to this tree. That's the first one he went to, him and Eve. Right? Because it was attractive. It was forbidden. The forbidden fruit is always attractive, more attractive than the halal fruit. 100%. Out of all the Jannah, imagine, everything was halal for him. Everything. Yet he went for what Allah says not to go for. This is, we know. We know that these things are attractive. The haram is attractive. The haram is more attractive than halal. This is the reality. Till you find halawatul iman, and which is very difficult. When you find halawatul iman, the sweetness of iman, maybe you start really feeling like, man, haram is just disgusting. Bottom line is, we know, all of us, that sins, music, this, that, looking at stuff, having fun, too much this, that, passing the limits. These are fun things and exciting, and it excites. Look at the youth, look at the humanity, look at the Saudis, look at people are excited because it boosts your dopamine levels. And the halal is hard. It's not easy. So Hudayfa is saying, I can't trust myself, right? It might overtake me. So tell me so I can stay away from it. I can run away. I can be careful. I can take actions to protect myself. I said, Ya Rasulullah, Messenger of Allah, we were lost in ignorance and evil. And Allah brought this good, Islam. Will some evil come after this good? He said, yes. I asked, and will good come after that evil? He said, yes. But it will be tainted with some evil. I asked, how will it be tainted? He said, there will be some people who will lead others on a path different than mine. Allahu Akbar. Let's pause here for a second to analyze that. The Sunnah, what did Imam Malik say? This is the Safina to Nuh, is the Ark of Noah. Whoever embarks on it will be safe. Whoever stays off will be destroyed. We don't know. We're living in Islam right now. We don't understand that some of us are not following the Sunnah. Some of us don't care about it. Some of us dismiss it. Prophet said there'll be others who lead people on a path different than mine. It's not the Sunnah. They'll claim it's Islam, and you will see good and bad in them. Okay, it'll be tainted. It'll be good and bad. It's a war. There's good, there's bad, there's good. And SubhanAllah, what a perfect description. This is the time probably that we are in. We have good in us, we have bad in us. Yeah, we pray, we claim the Muslims, but do we really follow the path of the Prophet? We follow the different ustaz, different sheikh, depending on who says what. But does he give evidence? No, he will be called maybe Wahhabi or something like that if he says Quran is Sunnah, if he says too much Sunnah, if he says culture, if he says Ustaz this, Ustaz that, he says like this is the Malaysian way or the Yemeni way or this way, or the Somali way, then people be like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is from our culture. But this Wahhabi thing, this is bad, right? Even though no one is calling to any Wahhabi thing, people are calling to call Allah, call Rasul. When people hear call Allah, call Rasul, they get anxious. They get, I don't know, they get itchy. They have an allergy reaction right away to point fingers, even though this is the deen is based on call Allah, call Rasul, right? So he said that these people will be, again, what they'll do, they will guide people on a path different than his. And you see good and bad in them. I asked, will some evil come after that? Will some evil come after that? He said some people will be standing and calling at the gates of hell. Allahu Akbar. Whoever responds to their call will be thrown into the fire. I said, oh Messenger, I'll describe them for us. Pay attention. There'll be callers on the gates of hell. Okay? Literally, preachers. Okay? Okay. I don't want to say more than that, but hey, it is what it is. Preachers, people calling to a path. But look at the signs. Describe them for us. He said, they will be from our own people and will speak our language. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. So Arabs, yeah. Arabs, they will speak Arabic. From our people. This can be interpreted in a few different ways. Number one, well, Quraysh and the people who were there, i.e. the tribes, Aus, Khazraj, right? The Sahaba, the Arabs of that area who were with the Prophet. Okay, they'll be from our own people and will speak our language, speak in Arabic, basically. I asked, what do you advise me to do if I live to see that? SubhanAllah, look at that. He's asking if I see to see that. Hope, live to see that. Are we seeing that, guys? Yeah, we are. Okay, I don't want to say more than that, but hey, open your eyes and see that that's the reality. We are seeing that. Okay, people coming up with all kinds of excuses for the behavior, the evil, open public behavior. Okay, so yeah, we're living. I can clearly, Wallahi, we can clearly say that we're living this time. So just pay attention to that. Look at the hadith. Look how clear it is. And not just that. People can say, you don't understand, brother, the context. You're not a muhaddith. Are you mad? Okay, there's context in this hadith. It is clear. It gives you context. It explains it. Yet people still want to say, no, it's not interpreted this and that. I even heard one time, I'm not going to say where again. Sometimes I try to abstain from naming countries or people. Sometimes it's hard. But I was in a lecture with some, mashallah, these people have knowledge. And someone brought up the hadith about the barefoot shepherds building tall buildings. And they were trying to reinterpret that as not something negative. It is negative. Building these, competing to build these tall buildings, which we see today, is clearly a sign, 100%, a sign of the day of judgment. Okay, clearly a sign, 100% a sign. And they're trying to, no, it's not like that, because yeah, it's and they're trying to give from the fiqh and some evidence and opinions as this is not something bad. It's actually something to be proud of. Okay, it's something to be proud of. Building tall, lofty buildings and competing. We see it. Okay, it's there in Malaysia, it's there in the Middle East, it's there everywhere in the world. So everyone's trying to build a tall building. Who tried to build a tall building? Fir'aun with Haman. They're trying to look at the Lord of Musa, he says, right, in the Bible, the Tower of Babel. Okay. So this is how we understand. It's clear. So he says, what to do if I live in that time? He ﷺ says, stick to the main body, to the Jama'ah of the Muslims and their leader, Imam. I asked, what if there's no? So the first step is to stick to the Jama'ah, the main body. Now, what if they're wrong? What if there's something, there is no Jama'ah, meaning there's no Ummah? This is important. Now here, Allahu Alam, and I'm giving my opinion, I don't think there is a Jama'ah because it would mean that there would be some sort of a Ummah, but there isn't. Everything is fraction, it's split. Because who are we then? Who's the Imam? There's no Imam. Okay, so therefore there's no Jama'ah. People say, no, it's the Imam is the leader of this country. No, because there's other countries that are Muslim and they're not. People are like, well, it's just relative, so the one in your country. No, this is talking about an Ummah. It's talking about that Muslim nation. It's not each country. No. So there is no Jama'ah. So then the second option now, right? So he said, what if there is no main body and no leader? This is the truth. This is where we are. He said, isolate yourself from all of those sects. Those, exactly what it is. Hizb. Okay? All these hizb that we see today. Each country, within the countries, the different Jamaat, the different ideologies, the different things. So he said, isolate yourself from all these sects, even if you have to eat the roots of trees until death overcomes you while you're in that state. Meaning, it's better to stay away from the fitna, from these things. Okay, to isolate yourself, to stay away, because there's the fitna will overtake you. This is for those who want to stay away from the fitna. If we connect again, what is Hudayfa asking? He wants to know how to stay, not to fall into the fitna. Okay, so the Prophet said, if you never want to fall into the fitna, you want to stay pure and good, then remove yourself from this system, right? Stay away. Stay away from these things. Isolate yourself. Be alone, your family. Just stay away from the haram, from the fitna, from the city life, from the things that are happening. Yes, this is the truth. I know people are like, no, but what, but there can be 10 buts that people come up with. Okay, fine, but listen to what the Prophet says there. And the question of Hudayfa. You don't want to isolate yourself. I'm not saying that. Go, guys, now and go off the grid. It'd be nice because definitely it would protect you from the fitna. Right? If you no internet, no haram, no TikTok, no Snapchat, no Instagram, no scrolling, no haram, no nakedness. Imagine how your iman would be. Yeah, of course. We know that this is correct. We know that what we are doing when we have our phones in our hands is not good. Yet we are questioning. Okay, we are questioning that this is something. This is something whether this is good or not. So Hudayfa, radiallahu anh, he wanted to know. I want to protect myself from fitna. All of us living in the cities, living in these, even going to masjid, da'wah, waking up for fajr, but we're going to work, we're going to the malls. Have we not fallen into the fitna? Have we not been in the description of this hadith? That there's evil and good, there's good and bad in us, that we follow a path other than the sunnah. Can any of us really say that we're following the sunnah? 100%? No, come on, let's be honest. This is the hadith hits home really hard. Okay, we all have gone to the mall this week or this month, maybe. How many times? Okay, we fall into fitna. We've seen things that we should not see. We thought of things that we should not think. All of us. All of us. This is the reality. Okay, so Hudayfa was very smart and he asked and he got some amazing answers that clearly describes that. Stick to the main body of the Jama'ah. But if it's not there, then separate yourself. If we were to separate ourselves, if any one of us would ever have the chance and ability, but then we find excuses. Of course, we all have probably a chance and ability, but we don't want to. We have been taken by the fitna, and the problem is, the concerning thing is that we do enjoy the fitna. And it's not like, okay, don't get me wrong, right? This is how we are predisposed, as I told you. As human beings, our souls entice us towards evil. Okay, now pay attention. This is how Allah created us. Does that mean now that there's no accountability? No, it's Allah has created these tests in us, but then He has given us the escape as well. Right? And that's a test. Of course, Allah created us with this predisposition to وَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ نَجْدَيْنِ. Okay, and we have showed them the two paths, the evil and the good. This Allah has put in us. The ability to do good and the ability to do evil was put into us by Allah. We don't believe in a duality like the Christians sometimes, certain philosophies in Christianity. Or like lost people believe that there's a duality that Shaitan controls this part and Allah controls the other part. A'udhu billah. No. Okay, Allah predisposed and conditioned and put everything. Then He has showed us how to escape this, and now we're left to do it ourselves. This is the test of life. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So they may test you which one of you is the best. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Okay, in Surah Al-Kahf and in Surah Al-Mulk, Allah mentions the same concept, this test of life. So, this is the reality, my brothers and sisters, that we have to accept, and we have to see, and we have fallen into the fitna, all of us, just by going to the mall. And who didn't go to the mall here? Or who that we know never goes to the mall? Just by going to work, just by having our mobile phones in our hands. We have fallen into fitna over and over again this week. Just today, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Islam began as something strange, and it will revert to being strange as it was in the beginning. So give glad tidings to the strangers. بدأ الإسلام غريب وسيعود غريب كما بدأ فتوبى للغرباء. فتوبى للغرباء. So give glad tidings to the strangers. What does it mean, a stranger? Someone that people are like, man, what's wrong with this person? Why is he praying? What's wrong with this person? Why is he wearing the beard? What's wrong with this person? Why is he different? He doesn't want to engage in this. He becomes strange. The default is that people follow desires and cultures, and it creates a culture that when a person is religious, really, he becomes a stranger. We're still, as Muslims, still somehow strangers to the world in a sense, but in the last, I would say, 10 years, I've seen a shift where now the non-Muslims are saying to the Muslims, Ahlan wa sahlan. You guys are almost like us, like you are like us. We're so common, we're so the same. Now you got hijabis and niqabis rapping and singing. You got hijabis singing Metallica, and they have a band. You got people doing all kinds of things, and now the non-Muslims are saying, "Oh, okay, so you guys are not so different than us. We're similar. We're the same." So now that ghurba, that strangeness, is disappearing. How do you know it's disappearing? Because the non-Muslims, the kuffar, are saying to the Muslims now, "Oh, we're similar, man. Let's have now like this things together." So now the Muslims are not strangers anymore. They're exactly like the kuffar. They're exactly like the kuffar. So someone asked, who are the strangers, Ya Rasulullah? He says, the ones who break away from their people, literally, for the sake of Islam. Okay. And that is a very, meaning that you leave the things that are causing fitna, your culture, that thing, because for Islam, you want to, you might fall into it. You might be misguided, but because of Islam, you just break away from it. You leave it for the sake of Allah. Ashab al-Kahf, why do you think we read that? What happened? If you remember the tafsir of the Surah al-Kahf, which we read, that these boys, the tafsir says that they were misguided. They used to be weird. Some narration said they used to wear earrings, maybe imitate women. Maybe they were, they had problems. But then Allah guided them and they changed. But for them, they had to separate from their culture, from the people. So they went to the cave. It's strange how we read that surah every week, yet we fail to understand this story. It is exactly what is being read in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And these people left for the sake of Islam, their culture, their families, their people. This is exactly what was mentioned in the hadith of Hudayfa above, what we just read. Same thing. Even though in our hearts we find things not settling. Why is he saying these things? How can I leave my family? How can I leave my country? How can I leave my people, my neighbor, my job, my this and that? I understand. How can I'm saying the same thing. Inside of my mind is the same questions, are the same questions. I'm no better. But still the facts stand that this is how it is. Whether I can solve it or not in my mind, or you can solve it or not in your mind, or you excuse yourself or I excuse myself, bottom line is it stands. We don't twist it and change it, as some of the guys today are trying to do, especially in America, to justify and to make people at peace so they don't have to question themselves. The reality is no. We should feel guilty. We should feel like failures. We should feel like, we haven't done well because, we fall into the fitna. So he said, who are the strangers? Ya Rasulullah, those who break away, literally, from their tribes for the sake of Islam. They stay away from the fitna. They know the fitna is hard. So, Ashabul Kahf, fa'tu ila al-kafi. Take refuge to the cave. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them in the cave and made them fall asleep. So they go over that time of fitna. Fitna against the deen might disappear and wake up in a better time. But they didn't. They tried, they checked, and this and that. Bottom line is they went back to the cave. And Allah knows best what happened to them. But what's important here to understand from this great lesson is that they separate themselves and they did hijrah from their people because of the fitna that they were in. They can protect their iman. Right? When we read this surah every week and yet we fail to understand how it connects to this hadith that we just read, these two hadith, and about what strangers, who are the strangers? They're the people that sound weird. Oh, bro, come on, man. It's not like that. Islam is not that difficult. You can still have fun. Come on, man. You can put those hijabi girls with guitars to play in the coffee shops, everyone's singing and happy. Come on, man. We got, National Day and this day and that. Let's be fun. And life is fun. And people fall in fitna. And then their iman just erodes slowly to the point that God knows if we would even recognize ourselves. May Allah forgive. And we all, starting with myself, are susceptible to this. And we know what fitna means. But see, the Sahaba had a different mentality. Yes, they're coming from Jahiliyyah, man. These guys, some of them did things that we can never even imagine, even in terms of like any deeds, bad deeds, let's say, before Islam in Jahiliyyah, right? I mean, none of us have ever killed anyone. Okay, these guys killed people, right? And like, I hope none of us ever killed anyone and will ever kill anyone. But the reality is that these guys like kill people, like proper. Yet still, when Islam came, it changed them, and they were able to change. And they knew their weaknesses and their levels, and they wanted to stay away from the fitna. Okay, they wanted to stay away from the fitna because they know who they really are. Today, we never even done like 10% of the things these people did, mashallah, but we consider ourselves much better than them, you know. And in our minds, we're like, oh, how can I do this? Okay, well, as I said, at least when we study, we acknowledge even if we cannot do. We don't twist. Now we have the twisting because psychologically a human being wants to solve that contradiction in their schemata, their paradigm of understanding life. So when there's like, wait a second, so in my deen it says maybe I should make hijrah, maybe I should be in a better position, maybe I should leave that this is evil, this, things that we're doing, this is bad. But Sheikh also said that it's not like this, but there's this interpretation that says that it's not like that. These people are always making things haram. These people are the bad ones. Okay, now I feel good. I understand it now. Now I can just justify my existence in the fitna, swimming in the fitna, deep diving into the fitna. I can justify because Sheikh said it's okay. Sheikh said that there's you know 300 opinions, and he went through all of them, and he didn't give any one conclusive evidence. He just confused everyone with showing how many opinions he knows, right? Yes, that's those kind of guys today would just go, the opinion of this. Okay, so what is opinion? What the opinion is? Where's the evidence? Okay, there's this opinion or that opinion or that opinion, and in the end, it kind of gives the person just a calming sensation that okay, man, if there's so many opinions and so many people, then I'll have my opinion now. So I'll just stay here in the fitna. It's okay. I'm cool, right? So these two hadith that we studied today are very important for us to understand. Very, very important. Can we do it? I don't know. That's up to you and up to me, and that's something we have to answer ourselves. We know how much we fall into fitna. We know it's affecting us. We know, as the Prophet said, it'll be like good and bad. They're mixing it. Stains, good stained with bad. That's exactly where we are. Right? Can we do it? Can we this? Can we that? But no matter what, don't change. Don't try to reinterpret. We know what we should do. When there's fitna, you separate yourself. You go away. Do we do it? Can we do it? It's between you and Allah, between me and Allah. But don't change. Don't change the hadith. Don't reinterpret. Don't nothing. No. All right. May Allah protect. Okay. Let's take the questions and then we'll stop. Sister saying that she's in Saudi right now. May Allah protect. Yeah, it's stable. Now in Mecca, Medina, you can see some things not so bad, but yeah, you go to like Riyadh, Jeddah, other places, it's disaster. You're just reaching the airport now, you can see the difference in Jeddah. Just in the airport, it used to be so different. I've come across dua to say it's a sin, contemptuous to make blanket general statement demonizing Arabs for their ill behavior because Rasul is an Arab. Those who say that will be held accountable on their judgment. Is it right? No one's demonizing and making a general statement. There's, of course, many Arabs who are good. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that these people are from the Arabs, from amongst them. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that. We're not saying all the Arabs are going to be the corruptors. We're saying that the corruptors will be Arabs. Okay, that's the difference, right? So we're not saying that the corruptors will be we're not saying that all Arabs are corruptors. We're saying that those corruptors that the Prophet ﷺ talked about, the callers to the gates of hell, are Arabs. Okay? They're from our people and they'll speak our language. I mean, they didn't speak Chinese, did they? Okay? I'm not saying that there's no corruptors among Chinese, but specifically what he's saying here, there's a difference, of course. Well, there'll be corruptors from the Chinese, from the Malay, from the Romanians, from the Americans, there'll be corrupt, but this is not what it's referring to about the kuffar and the non-Muslims corruptors or whatever, or even Muslims. Here specifically referring to Muslims, to ulama, to people callers, preachers, specifically doing dawah and doing things. That's what it's referring to. Not to the kuffar. Of course, there's corruptors amongst the kuffar, and even amongst the Muslims of the other nationalities. But that's not what it is. It's talking about those who have prominence, those who represent, those who make and shift world views and political and this and that. Those are the ones. And of course, as relevant to us and within Islam. And I mean, let's be honest, let's look around what we're dealing with today. Okay. طيب inshallah, we'll leave it at that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and protect. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.